Hey everyone, Miss Dempsey here. So, this race, it was an interesting race to say the least. This is from Season 2, Round 1 of the FIA Manufacturer Exhibition Series, and I ended up joining with Nissan, and for this race, I somehow ended up qualifying in 4th place, and I find it a little funny because when I got this time, I don't think I was getting a tow from anyone ahead of me. I was pretty much just by myself and somehow ended up just qualifying up here. But either way, starting in 4th, top split, I'll take it. So the question is, how long can I stay up here? Because we are in Tokyo Expressway, there's no runoff area. This car is pretty rough on its front tires when it comes to tire wear, so at some point, I know that if I'm not careful, I'm going to end up understeering into a wall and probably pick up a penalty or two. But either way, let's just try to have some fun. That's pretty much what I just came here for. I just wanted to have a little bit of fun in this race. This was something that I've been looking forward to for some reason, because this layout, variation, whatever you want to call it, is actually one of my favorite ones from the Tokyo Expressway in general. But here we are, just hanging out right behind Mr. Lambo over here. Good to see you again. And I'm kind of going for an odd strategy. So I saw this in KS channel where he was going racing medium tires in the front and racing hard tires in the back. But he went for the no stop, and I'm kind of going for the Hail Mary, and I'm going to try it out as well. Even though I have a good feeling it's not going to work out well, because as I mentioned earlier, this car is a bit rough on its front tires. So I have to try to be careful on the tire. I have to be careful on the chicane over here, as it's really easy to mess it up. And well, let's just see how it goes. I'm just going to try to kind of just do my thing, try not to kiss any walls, and make sure that whoever's behind me doesn't end up passing me unless if I'm trying to make something work out. Especially if we're this early into the race and someone is all over me, I might as well just let them pass for now, try to work with them. That way we can catch up to whoever is ahead of us. But right now it's 3rd and 2nd place. They're right ahead of me, so let's just see where this goes. 1st place is already kind of just making a getaway. And I've heard that he has a really crazy pace, so at this point I'm kind of just not surprised that he's already kind of just getting this far this early into the race, as I try to sneak on in from 3rd place as he's about to serve his penalty. So I'm going to see if I can try to get right behind 2nd place or 3rd place, as I'm going to need a bit of that slipstream benefit so I can catch up to Mr. Lamb over here. And I'm just going to sneak on by, try not to establish contact with the car that is getting unghosted, as we have a friend over here hanging out right behind us, getting all that slipstream benefit, and I think he's in the Mustang, so he's going to be going pretty fast. Yep, definitely Mustang. And I'm going to go over here because I don't want to punt Lamb off into the wall, and then he'll end up hitting me forever. And as we approach the chicane of death, I'm going to see if I can try to be a bit more aggressive about it, but I end up being too aggressive. Now I got the car sliding around, and I somewhat almost lose it. But luckily, since this car is a 4-wheel drive, you literally have to try to get the car to lose control. I end up accidentally getting in the way of the Mustang, so I'm just going to go over to the side and just let him on through. And just going to use my turn indicator because there's some cars behind me that were gaining on me, and I just want to let them know that I'm going to go ahead and hang out right behind the Mustang. Alright, skipping on over to the end of lap 4, and one of the things I like about the GTR is that if you do it right, this car can take those sausage curbs pretty nicely, and that way you can get a much better exit and potentially end up really gaining on whoever's ahead of you. But unfortunately, if you end up meeting the car ahead of you at that turn, then things are going to slow down a little bit, as the Aston Martin on the left just catches up to us out of nowhere because he had no one to battle with. I had to battle with the Mustang a little bit, so he just ends up getting a free pass on me. But that's okay. I'm not going to try to battle out with him too much. I'm just going to try to work with him, try and see if we can catch up to the Mustang and catch up to the Genesis up ahead. Alright, so some of you might be thinking, what do I think of this car? And well, it's a little too early to tell because we still have yet to do the second race with the Group 4 version. I mean, me personally, I kind of like this car. It's a missile, and overall it's pretty fun to drive. It's just that my problems with it is just that its tire wear, especially in the front tires, it just mauls on the front tires. I know I had that problem with the Aston Martin, but I don't know, just with the Aston Martin I just didn't have a good experience with it. But with this one, I don't know, it's just something about it, it just makes it a fun car to drive. Skipping on over to lap 7 because nothing really happened, I'm going to end up going just a little bit wide. Now I know that the tire wear is starting to settle in on me, and now I'm under attack by the 458, and it's going to be a bit of a struggle because I'm starting to deal with the understeer, and I'm trying to keep up with the pace of the cars up ahead, but once again with the tires, it's just going to be a lot harder. I'm not sure how the tire wear is on the Ferrari, but I'm going to assume the fact that he's hanging out right behind me now, I'm going to assume it's pretty good. And in this part, I'm going to see if I can try to catch up to the Aston Martin up ahead, but because he's getting the slipstream from the Mustang up ahead, who's getting the slipstream from the Genesis up ahead, it's going to be difficult to catch up. And actually, that's one of the other things that I forgot to mention that I'm not a big fan of the GTR, is that its acceleration is pretty slow, as you see here. It's just that once you get towards the 5th and the 6th gears, that's when it starts to really shine. Alright, now I'm going to see if I can try to catch up to them, and that I do, but I still have to worry about the Ferrari behind me because at any moment he's going to try to initiate an attack on me. Hopefully not here, because that'll just end badly. As we go through the death chicane, I end up getting a better exit than the Mustang, so I'm going to see if I can try to pass him, and that I do. He ends up tapping the wall just a little bit, which slows him down just enough, and hopefully he can block the Ferrari so I can have a bit of breathing space. So far things are actually looking pretty good. This Hail Mary strategy that I'm going with is kind of working out until now, as I end up understeering into the wall, and I'm going to end up getting bumped by the Mustang over here as I accidentally get in his way. I'm just trying to not get in his way, end up slowing him down just a little bit, and I'm stuck with a 1.5 second penalty. And since the penalty serving zone is just at the start of this upcoming straight right after the hairpin, it's going to cost me big time. As I serve this penalty in a moment, I'm going to get left behind by 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th place. So it's going to be really difficult to even get an inch closer to them. I'm going to have to start to worrying about 7th place and maybe even 8th place if he happens to be right behind him. And this is where I start to think if I want to adjust my strategy. But first, let me just take this chicane of death over here, as I end up taking it wrong, get a bit too much air, hit the wall, and end up with another 1.5 second penalty. So now 7th and 8th place, they're going to get a free pass on me. And it's pretty much here where I decide, yeah, I'm going to have to go to the pit stop. I'm going to need to get a new set of tires, because at this point, this is not going to work out for me. If I stay on this strategy, it's only going to get worse. The cars behind me are going to get really close to me and either get a free pass on me or force an error on me. Or I go to the pit stop, lose a couple places, but get new tires, and I will have the tire life and the tire grip to be able to claw my way back up. So, I mean, it's a difficult decision to make, especially once you find out that things are going to plan. So now I just have to think about when I want to do it. But first I have to serve this penalty, so I might as well just do that first. And the reason why I said think about when I want to do it is because we're still on lap 9. Still had a penalty to serve, and I want to see if I can try to stretch the tire life just a bit more, so then when I'm on the new set of tires, I can definitely run them as hard as I can without worrying too much about understeering into a wall. At least that we hope that is the case. Alright, lap 10, we're going to go ahead and pit on in along with the Corvette just ahead of us. And no fuel, we don't need to worry about that. As long as we short shift along the way, we should be good. Get some new tires, and let's go ahead and see where we end up falling. And we are down to 14th place. And I'm not too concerned, because the thing that we have to think about is that most of the cars around us, they're going to be on older tires, so there's a good chance that they'll be struggling to get through some of the turns. I also have the sheer speed and power of the GTR, so I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities where I can get an easy pass on someone. So let's go ahead and hang out with the Corvette and the Huracan over here. But the only thing I don't know about the Huracan is what kind of strategy he's on, because the way he's going, it seems like he pitted, but I just don't know exactly when. And it's going to make just a tiny bit of difference, because at some point, if he did pit earlier than I did, then his tires are going to be a bit more worn out towards the end of the race. So we're going to fast forward through this a little bit. Interestingly, what happens is that the Corvette is going to go ahead and go into the pit stop again. And it seems like what happened was that he went with the racing hards to get the requirement out of the way, but unfortunately that's going to cost him quite a bit of time and potentially positions. So with my strategy, the one that I started with, because I had the racing hard tires in the back, that already got it out of the way, so I can just go on racing medium tires and just go ahead and go about my race. So the goal over here is to see if I can catch up to the Lamborghini, and it's going to be a little bit difficult just because I don't have all the slipstream, but with the car being really fast, it's going to be a matter of time before I end up catching up to him. And luckily the straights are pretty long in this track, well, at least the back straight. And if he messes up on the chicane over here, then that is a huge opportunity for me to catch up, as I end up doing just gradually. And we start to see a pack of cars up ahead, and if they're running racing hards only or racing hard mediums, well, either way their tires are going to be pretty worn, especially on lap 12, and I'm on practically new tires. So I just have to try to meet up with them at the right time, and I can easily pass them. So I'm going to work with the Lamborghini, because at this point I'm just assuming that he's on pretty new tires as well. But either way, I need to find a way to catch up to him and to the cars up ahead, because I want to climb my way back up, and preferably I would like to do it now. As in this turn, interestingly, I tend to get closer, and as a collision happens up ahead, and we're going to end up right behind the three cars right here. And this is prime picking, as the Citroen ends up hitting the wall, gets a penalty. So that's a free pass. And with how fast the GTR is, we're going to see if we could try to get a free pass on the WRX, as it happens to not be so good at straight line speed. And we're going to sneak on by, just following closely with the Huracan just up ahead, and beautifully done. Now we're going to see if we can try to catch up to the group of cars that is just up ahead, as we're now hanging out in 12th place. Alright, skipped on over to lap 13 because nothing happened. I'm just over here following closely behind the Huracan, our travel buddy, and we're getting a bit closer to the cars up ahead, so we're making progress. So we're going to take this chicane to death, as he ends up going just a little bit wide, and I'm going to try to go around him, try to pass him as fast as I can, because I want to try to reach 10th place, because they're just right there. And there we go, we got a pass, so we're now on 11th place, and it looks like the car ahead is the McGain Trophy, so it's not going to be the best at straight line speed as well. So it's going to be a matter of time before we can catch up to them. Don't forget that their tires are pretty much getting worn at this point. And there's actually 4 cars up ahead, so we have a lot of opportunities to regain position. So the only question is, how long is it going to take for us to catch up to them? And well, the answer is not that long because I am getting some of that good old slipstream benefit. So I'm going to quickly catch up to them, or well, somewhat catch up to them. And as we fast forward I am making a bit of progress, but it's not too much because they're all getting the slipstream as a little bit of a collision happens, and now I'm right behind them. So that little collision ended up slowing them down big time. And now I have to figure out how I'm going to pass at least one of these cars. And it's going to be difficult as the Lexus over here, he ends up spinning out, takes a chicane of death wrong, and rest of pepperoni to him, as we end up getting a pass on that car and the Toyota. So now we're up to 9th place. Here's the thing though, we're starting to run out of time, and we have 8th and 7th place just up ahead. And the question is, can I catch up to 7th place? 8th place I think is totally possible to pass them, especially as they are in a bit of a weaker car for this track. So let's see if we can try to at least reach 8th place. After that, then we can worry about 7th place. Alright, skipped on over later in the lap, and at this point I am right behind the McGain trophy, and I'm going to go for the pass as I ended up braking just a tad bit too early. So I have to back out of that attempt, but at this point he knows I'm right behind him. I want to pass him because I want to regain 8th place. As we take the chicane of death just right, and we're going to see if we could try to overtake him leading up to turn 1. And it's going to be a little bit difficult because I'm right behind him. I have to go into bumper view so I can try and see how close I am to him without actually bumping into him. And we're about to get the pass done. We just have to try to get this turn right, as I end up braking just a little bit too late and end up going wide, so the McGinn trophy just ends up passing us again, and the Huracan almost gets a pass on us, but I accidentally block him again, so I'm just going to flash my emergency lights just saying sorry. But I am not going to give the position away because I am a jerk like that. Alright, so we just have to try to catch up to the McGinn trophy again before we get to the upcoming turn, not the hairpin, but the upcoming turn after the straight ends. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to attempt an overtake as we are still a little bit too behind him. So we're just going to hang out right behind him, and we're going to see if we could try to get an overtake done before we reach turn 1 of the next lap, because well, that just happens to be the final lap just up ahead over here. As I get a good exit over here, so now I know I can probably get an overtake done pretty early on him. And we're just going to get a little bit of that slipstream and just rev out the car as much as we can, try to get that speed, and we definitely get a good pass on him. Awesome. Now we have to worry about 7th place. He's right there. We just have to try to nail these turns and try to get an awesome pass on him, as we're under attack by the McGain trophy, but we're just going to block him because we are jerks like that, because I want to get to 7th place. At least if I don't get to 7th place, then at least I'll take 8th. And most likely I am still on better tires than 7th place is on, so we have a bit of advantage, especially on the turn. So let's see if we can try to get a good turn over here, as we both end up going a little bit wide in different areas. Still under attack from the McGain trophy, but at this point I'm not going to worry about it anymore, because with the speed of the GTR, he's just going to get left behind. But we are definitely going to catch up to the 86 just up ahead. Now the question is, can I try to get an overtake done before we reach the right-hander just up ahead? And the answer is looking like a yes. I just want to try and see if I can get the inside line, as I end up bumping into him by accident. I forgot to merge just a tiny bit to the right, so now I'm hanging out behind him again. Now this is where it's going to get a little bit awkward. I must get a better exit than he does at the chicane of death and try to get a pass on him right before the finish line. It's going to be extremely difficult. I get a good exit, better than he does. I'm getting the slipstream, trying to rev the heck out of the car. Now we're getting ready to go side to side, and now we're going side to side. We're about to pass him, but unfortunately, he ends up just crossing the finish line right before I do. 400th of a second. That's how close it was. And 8th place, alright, I'll take it. I mean, it's not as good as 4th place, but considering how south the strategy went at first and then made a recovery with a little bit of an adjustment, I think 8th place is still a respectable position to finish in. But anyways, that is all for the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. So this is Mr. MCA wishing you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.